Breaking news, the rookie is on the way. Bryce Eldridge is headed to the big show. We talk about the Giants and their struggles against the Dodgers and a wild card roundup. That's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Alan Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion and analytics with the eye test and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I also host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, the Alan Stiles Show, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Be sure to check that out, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are talking about the arrival of Bryce Eldridge, one of the most anticipated call-ups in recent memory for the Giants. We're also talking about some Dodger blues as the Giants could not take care of business in total against the Dodgers, and a wild card roundup. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. It is Bryce Eldridge time. Breaking news. Send out the messengers. Tell everyone it is Bryce Eldridge time. What is the best way to tell everyone, well, look over here. We did lose a series to the Dodgers and kind of get handled in 2 out of the 3 games, but look over here. Okay, we're in a good spot as far as the wild card is concerned, and we are pulling up the most anticipated prospect in recent memory. The time is now for Bryce Eldridge. The only way to get over losing a series like this is to call up somebody like Bryce Eldridge, and both of the Giants, their aces, they just didn't take care of business. We'll talk about it more during our Dodger Blues segment, but the aces, as far as Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, they just didn't take care of business. But right now, we are talking about the future, okay? And Bryce Eldridge is finally making the jump. With only 13 games remaining in the regular season, the Giants have summoned their top prospect in the playoff push. It's a clutch moment, not just for the team's postseason chances, but for Bryce Eldridge's development, right? And how the front office views him. We discussed, should they pull him up if these games didn't mean anything? Should they pull him up if they did mean something? And they made this decision with Dominic Smith going down. Incredible play, by the way. Just an outstanding play. He put literally his body on the line, Dominic Smith did. And look, I can't do a splits, never could. What he was able to do, that was outstanding. He gave it all up for the team. We'll see. I think I saw 2 weeks for Dominic Smith, but they had a decision to make, and they went with Bryce Eldridge. I believe they're going to see about five righties coming up here. So just a good opportunity for Bryce Eldridge and that lefty bat. At just 20 years old, Eldridge was the Giants' first pick in the 2023 draft, and he's been performing, even missing nearly 2 months in AAA out here in Sacramento. He's slashing .248, .319, .516 with 18 home runs, which is 12th in the minors. And again, he's missed about 12 months. So he's 2 months. He's 12th in the minors with missing 2 months of that time. And he's 12th in home runs with those 18 ding-dong Donkey Kongs. Earlier in the season in AA Richmond, he chipped in 7 homers, and now past a dozen games or so, he's hitting about .283 with 2 homers and 9 RBIs just this month. His overall line across Richmond, Sacramento, and a brief rehab stint, .260, .331, .512 with 25 homers, 84 RBIs in 101 games. Defensively, I've talked about this before because I'm out here and I can see with my own 2 eyes, he's still learning first base, right? And because Rafael Devers also plays first and as a lefty bat, there is talk about Eldridge might split time there, possibly fill a role at DH. The overlap in positions adds some complexity to how the Giants will use him in the short term, but just think of him as Dominic Smith, right? And I just want to make it clear again, I'm not saying it can never happen, but because I was on this train as well, from what I've seen, I don't believe the Giants have any plans for Bryce Eldridge to play in the outfield. If they do have plans for him to play in the outfield, it is not going to be this season. I'd be incredibly surprised. And on top of that, it ain't going to be center. And we already know there's a logjam in those corner positions. So I just wanted to make that clear for everyone. Former Giants first baseman JT Snow has been helping out here in Sacramento, working with Eldridge on defensive improvements. Eldridge says he feels ready for the promotion. And this is just a huge decision by the organization. Just a huge decision by the organization. They understand there's going to be a lot of pressure on this kid, because that was also the conversation. Hey, should he make a move like that, or should we make a move like that in this moment where so much is kind of being thrown around and it can affect his confidence? People have been going back and forth with Marco Luciano, the prospects that just didn't work out, right? Joey Bart was supposed to save the Giants. Marco Luciano was supposed to save the Giants. Nobody has saved the Giants. The Giants haven't had, out here in Sacramento where the A's play, feels like there's a 20-year-old prospect getting pulled up every single week, literally every single week. And I know the A's aren't very good, but a lot of these guys have been hitting pretty well. And all these other teams that we've seen, seems like they all have these young studs that are under 22 years old, and they're giving the keys to them. Now, it doesn't always work out, but they're giving them opportunities. And the Giants finally have someone that they're at least going to try out. This is no disrespect to the other guys that the Giants have pulled up, but when, 24, 25, maybe even 23, but just a really, really young prospect ahead of their time that the Giants are willing to give the keys to, they haven't had that. And this is a lot on Bryce Eldridge's shoulders. And this is quite the test. It really is. There's no if and buts about it. And you got to hope that if it doesn't go well, it doesn't affect them in the future. But the Giants believe that this is a necessary risk. I did want to say, and shout out Susan Slusser. She had this first from the SF Chronicle last night, about 9-10 o'clock last night. It came out of nowhere, and it was a Chronicle exclusive. The other thing I wanted to say is there has been some back and forth on whether or not Bryce Eldridge would be able to get added to the playoff roster. So Susan Slusser did confirm, because everyone was saying I didn't think that he would be able to. She says because he was in the org September 1st, he can replace anyone on the 60-day IL, which means he can replace Murphy. So everyone kept wondering, why are they pulling him up if he's not going to be able to play in the playoffs? According to Susan Slusser, because of what I just read and how they kind of maneuvered the situation, he will be able to play. Okay, so he will be able to play, and this could just catapult him into another stratosphere if this works out. And honestly, even if it doesn't, I saw people saying, hey, Buster Posey had a quick stint and it didn't work out, and he still ended up being, Buster Posey's going to be a Hall of Famer, so let's just kind of chill out a little bit and not freak out. And obviously, Buster, Rookie of the Year, okay, so there's that too, but I'm fascinated. This is crazy. This is crazy news. It is all happening in the middle of a playoff push. We will get to what the Giants actually did against the Dodgers and kind of cool off the hype train a little bit, because you can tell I'm excited, man. I haven't seen something like this from the Giants in a very long time. There have been guys. Do y'all remember when it was supposed to be Brandon Crawford, who was at one of the games this weekend, Brandon Crawford handing the keys to Marco Luciano. Then all of a sudden, what was it, a couple years ago? Oh, Marco Luciano is a right fielder now. Not even center. He's just specifically, he's a corner outfielder now. And look, it worked out for guys like Tatis and O'Neal Cruz. I know O'Neal Cruz plays center, but we've seen stuff like that before. It just didn't work out for Marco Luciano. And there's been so many guys, Joey Bart, right? The names go on and on and on. And we have this prospect player profile that we do here on the show, and it's great, right? And even with all of those things that we've discussed as far as the guys that are coming up, this is something that's going to happen right now. This is something that's going to happen right now, and it's very, very, very exciting. When we return, let's talk about something that started out really exciting and then cooled off a little bit. The Giants not able to take care of business against the Dodgers. They had an opportunity. Luckily, the Mets, look, they finally did win. So the Giants did lose a game, but they put themselves in a good situation, and this thing is far from over. Giants Dodgers talk when we return. What went wrong out there at Oracle Park? Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping up with your fantasy lineup. I did pretty good this week, so I'm happy about that. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and it's just a really fun way to stay locked in all season long. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Man, oh man, oh man, it would be a cold way to go out if your pitching took a complete nosedive once you finally figured out your hitting, and that's what it felt like during this Dodgers series this weekend. It felt like the Dodgers hitters were comfortable all series long, singles, doubles, triples, home runs. They were just peppering the ball all over the field, and there was almost no point in time where I was confident that a Giants pitcher was going to make a Dodgers hitter get out, which is a crazy statement, but it felt like the Dodgers were just comfortable. It felt like they were hitting a beach ball all series long, specifically the last 2 games, obviously, that the Dodgers won. This weekend against the Dodgers was supposed to be a proving ground for the Giants, and instead, it exposed exactly why they're still on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. Friday night felt like the kind of moment that could turn the entire season around. Patrick Bailey and that walk-off grand slam. Feels like so much has happened since then. But real quick, shout out Patrick Bailey and what he's been doing on this show, on Locked On Giants. And by the way, my record since taking over the podcast, it's switched up a little bit. Since I started doing the show, it started out rough, and y'all weren't getting on me in the comments. Now, all of a sudden, we've taken a turn, so we'll see how this thing ends. But shout out Patrick Bailey, okay? It was really rough for him. We talked about the Adley Rushmans. We talked about guys because he was struggle busing, but something clicked within Patrick Bailey, and he's been balling. Justin Verlander, he gutted it out through those innings. The fan energy at Oracle Park, it was buzzing. It felt like a postseason preview, but that one magical win was immediately overshadowed by back-to-back blowouts that showed, I don't want to say how fragile the team is, but how there's still levels to this. And the Dodgers hadn't been playing well. That's why throw the records, throw how they've been playing out the window when it comes to these rivalry matchups. The Giants didn't just lose a series. I think that there was a moment where it felt like the Dodgers were saying, yeah, you're still not there yet. What you're doing has been cute, right? Your little run has been cute, but and we've been messing around with the Padres, but we're still the top dog. We are the World Series champs. This is a different level, right? They didn't have to solely rely on the long ball. They beat the Giants with professional at-bats, grinding out the counts, drawing out walks, stringing together hits, forcing mistakes. The Dodgers executed situational baseball while the Giants they faltered on the details. And that starts with Logan Webb, right? You get that win with Justin Verlander and you're thinking, we are winning this series. We are winning this series because you have your ace and your number 2. You won with the last guy in your rotation, well, hybrid, right? But with Justin Verlander, now all you got to do is win one. And that's what I said. The Giants will go to the playoffs if they win this series. I said that on Friday. That's not to say that they now won't go to the playoffs, but that's how I felt about it. And they didn't get it done. And the Mets were not, also, Captain Obvious, the Mets weren't going to lose every single game. and they won yesterday. So how did the Giants kind of make their way back from this? How did they do it? And they bring up Bryce Eldridge. That's great. We're really excited about that. But this was a tough watch. It was. And of course, the Giants weren't going to win every single game. And they're in the mix. Don't get me wrong. This is not supposed to be a negative as in total, because they're still gaining ground on the Mets. The Mets are still sputtering. They're still struggling. But the Giants had a huge opportunity here. And Logan Webb, we saw the post-game remarks. Look, he wore it, man. He wore it. That's what your ace does. That's what your captain does. He wore it. And now they have to figure out a way to get back on track. And again, you're so close now. They've done the hard stuff. I posted on my social media the video from Dark Knight where he's climbing out of the cave. They did that, right? They're not there yet in the sense of they're not in the playoffs, but this is now realistic, right? They have enough games to do it, and the Mets are still struggling. But this was a huge missed opportunity. And I just think because it was the Dodgers, it felt worse because it was almost as if the Dodgers turned it on, and they're a team that's good enough to kind of turn it on. Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, he hit that ball off of Logan Webb, and he might still be staring at it. Mookie Betts decides he's going to be the Mookie Betts of old and just get knock after knock. So this was it really did kind of put a damper on how things felt, even though the Giants are still in a great spot. So that was just, and I can't stand the Smurfs, man. There's still a lot of Dodger fans out there. They're all out here in Sacramento. I just can't stand them. I can't stand them. Have you even lived in LA? It's just, don't get me started. It was rough. It was rough. I think that the mental side, we'll just know more when the Giants get back out there on the field to see how this reacted. I think, and again, the reason that matters is because you can't just say, well, they're the Dodgers. We'll see what happens for the rest of the season. You got 4 more against them. 4 more, okay? So right now, the Giants sit a game and a half out of that wild card spot with only a handful of series left. The weekend wasn't just about dropping 2 games. It was about missing an opportunity to show that they can hang with that elite competition. And the Dodgers reminded everyone that they are the standard, and I wouldn't say that the Giants have far to go, and they didn't get swept, right? They won, and it was an outstanding first game. But those last 2 games, it didn't erase. I'm not saying that it erased all the goodwill at all. It was rough. It was rough. Robbie Ray, Robbie Ray has been very hittable lately. And when he is in his mode, Robbie Ray is still a top pitcher in this league. But Robbie Ray lately has been very hittable. He's just looked hittable. Everything that he throws doesn't feel like he's fooling anyone. No matter how hard he grunts, doesn't feel like he's really fooling anyone. So you have Robbie Ray, who has struggled. Logan Webb, who has kind of struggled in this second half a little bit. And they're going to have to bear down and get this thing back on track. That's the only way, because this thing starts with pitching. The Giants, and then if you were to tell me the Giants are going to win that walk-off, come back off the walk-off, because that's the whole thing about this momentum situation. Come back off the walk-off, go up, 4 runs with Logan Webb on the bump. Oh, well, at least they're going to at least win the series. They might sweep. Then they got Robbie Ray. They ended up losing that series, and it wasn't particularly close. So the only thing I will say is that sometimes blowouts are a good thing because it can just clear the deck, right? Hey, we're going to flush it. We're pulling up. And I'm not saying that's part of the reason they pulled up Bryce Eldridge. But the main reason is that they lost Dominic Smith and needed somebody in that position, right? But hey, they handled us. Tip your cap. We still gain ground. Okay, the Mets are still right there. They're still sputtering. They're still struggling. We still have a series against the Rockies. Still got the Diamondbacks out there. And yeah, we have the Dodgers again, but let's just flush it and move on. So hopefully that's what the Giants do, because this was some little bro stuff. Obviously not game one. You didn't get swept, but the last 2 games, that was some little bro stuff right there. One more segment with you. Let's do a wild card roundup. Tell you where everyone sits right now so we can prepare for what's coming up. The last couple games, I could even say at this point of the season. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I have a couple buddies that are extremely happy with Nutrafol, and it's awesome to see their confidence back at an all-time high. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. I've been reaching for my new jeans almost every day. My Doer jeans. I love my Doer jeans because they are made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks away moisture. Keeps you cool and comfortable as temperatures change. Great for any season. Doer combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. The best of both worlds. That's why they call them the most comfortable pants. But don't take our word for it. Go try a pair on for yourself. Doer just opened a store right here in Hayes Valley so you can feel the difference firsthand. Go check them out at 567 Hayes Street. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnSF. Okay, we have our wild card roundup. The Giants made a stand on Friday, and even though they didn't win another game and ultimately lost a series, I believe it did show what they're made of, and the Mets know that this thing is ultimately going to end, right? I think that the Mets know that the Giants are on their way. And again, they're probably thinking, man, we got really lucky here that the Giants did lose that Logan Webb game and the Robbie Ray game. The Giants and Mets, they're just simply going in different directions, right? And with the salary that the Mets are paying, it's easy to say that they can turn it on at any point. I just feel that it gets to a point where it's just not happening, right? The biggest difference between the Mets and the Giants is that the Giants aren't that removed even still from the idea that if you put the black and orange on, you're going to compete from championships. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do the even year thing because I think it matters. I also think it matters when you have Buster Posey, right, in control now. I think that also matters. The Mets have all the money in the world, but it just doesn't seem like they can put it together for a cohesive run. And I'm knocking on wood everywhere, not trying to jinx anything, but they're leaving the door open. They've continued to leave the door open. And I feel like we've seen this movie before. We've seen this story before where a team just can't put 2 and 2 together and they just run out of time. The Mets coming up, they have the Padres at home. Okay, the Giants have the D-backs. Cincinnati and St. Louis will do battle. This is a crazy week for Major League Baseball. Crazy week because obviously Cincinnati and St. Louis, they're both still trying to hang around in it. And I would say more than hang around for Cincinnati specifically. The Giants and Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks still trying to hang around, do some things. The Padres are fighting for that NL West. And obviously the Mets are just trying to keep everyone at bay. But this is crazy. If you're the Giants, you have to be able to flush it and you have to be able to just stick to the process. Get whatever the good mojo was back and just continue to stick to the process. Because now the Mets could say, okay, well, the Giants had opportunities. We're still hanging around. And that's the thing for me. I don't even believe what I'm saying, right? I can say that about the Mets, but I don't even believe that. I just don't think the Mets, and I've been worried. You look at that lineup every single day, right? And you have, you obviously Lindor, you got the polar bear, you got all these guys, but they've had that the whole time and it hasn't worked out for them. So unless they find something that they have not found the same way the Giants found something, I do think this is leaning in the direction of the Giants. Look, the Reds are what they are, right? And if the Giants take care of business, they'll be okay. The Mets, that's the main thing I'm focused on right now. Let's number one, see what happens with the Diamondbacks, right? But worrying about other teams that aren't in the wild card yet, there's just not enough. There's just not enough capacity. We're already pocket watching on the Mets, right? Now the Reds have been playing well, don't get me wrong, but there's only so much pocket watching that you can do when it comes to all these teams that are just fighting, scratching, clawing, and trying to just make a way, right? Just make a way and just get to the promised land. So the Reds have lost 3 straight, right? The Reds have lost 3 straight. The Giants have lost 2 straight. The Diamondbacks have won 2 in a row. The Diamondbacks were hot the last time the Giants played them, and the Giants handled them. But that's what it's looking like right now. The Cardinals, who are a little further back, they have won a game, but they're 4 games back of that wild card. So you got the Giants at 1.5 games back, the Diamondbacks at 2 games back, the Reds at 2.5 games back. So really, the Reds were hot. They dropped 3 in a row. The Diamondbacks win 2 in a row, and now the Diamondbacks are more of an issue than the Reds right now. This is huge. The Diamondbacks feel like we could easily – nobody believes in the Mets. Nobody believes in the Mets. We could easily overtake this team. The Mets are 2-8 in their last 10. The Giants are 5-5 in their last 10. That feels weird based on how well they've been playing. The Diamondbacks are 6-4 their last 10. And yeah, the Reds, who they were trying to do the Giants thing, they're 4-6 in their last 10. And it's still there for them, but the Cardinals, who are no slouch, I know they're under 500, 4-6 their last 10. It's tough sledding for everybody. And the one thing that we can always look, yes, the Giants still have the Dodgers, but I would argue and say, look, I just spent a whole segment saying how the Dodgers handled the Giants, but at the same time, I would still say that the same conversation goes as far as this being a rivalry matchup. So 4 more games against the Dodgers. Yes, they got you this time, but now you owe them something. Now you owe them something. And it's a rivalry matchup. So I would rather almost have that than a random, obviously. You got the Rockies last, which is the savior. So thank you, Colorado, for just existing in the NL West. But on top of the Rockies just existing, I think that's almost better than having a team, when the Rays came into town, or a team that's decent, you might overlook in a way. There's no overlooking the Dodgers. And right now, there's no overlooking the Diamondbacks because they're right there behind you. So I think this is good for the Giants. And if you can't beat these teams, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. I think it's that simple. You don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway if you can't beat these teams. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on all of this. If you can't tell, I am very, very excited for the upcoming week. The hope is clearly back. Bryce Eldridge. Okay, we discussed Bryce Eldridge. He's getting called up. I really didn't think it was going to happen. Buster said most likely not. You never know what's going to occur. Injuries. Bryce, and you know what? I want to say something just from my time in Sacramento. He does things the right way. I think once people get to know his personality, it's going to be really funny. There are a lot of, games that they do, a lot of terms that Bryce doesn't know, right? Just normal base, but can of corn, stuff like that. Bryce is going to be a very, very funny guy, and I would say unintentionally funny. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to kind of experience this, but most importantly, we got to see what he does on the field. It's go time, baby. It's go time. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I, and also follow our Locked On Giants account as well. We really appreciate all the growth that we've been seeing. You're getting the word out, and I can't thank you enough. However you may be listening on YouTube and anywhere that you get your podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.